If you have any information regarding the disappearance of Maura Murray, please contact the New Hampshire Cold Case Unit at 603-271-2663 or email them at coldcaseunit@dos.nh.gov or contact the family at www.mauramurraymissing.org or contact them by email at mauramurrayfamilydirect@gmail.com. Of course, links will be provided below. Hello, this is Rick, and this is Burn After Reading. So I wanted to go over a few things, so let me get started. First, let me tell you about a podcast episode. If you haven't listened to it, I insist you do so as soon as possible. James McMahon has a brilliant series out called Shame. In episode 3, he interviews Julie Murray, one of Maura's older sisters, in case you didn't know. Now, I know Julie has been interviewed before. They're all insightful and informative, but this one's different. I can't stress enough, out of all her videos, this needs to be the one you need to hear. Whether you're new to this case or you've been following it for a long time, you need to listen so that you understand what Julie and her family members go through on a regular basis. By doing so, I hope you come out of it with empathy and compassion. I don't know how anyone could not. Before I get more into that episode, let me share a description of who McMahon is in his own words. Hello, my name is James McMahon. I'm a journalist. I host the OCD Chronicles podcast, and I wanted to let you know about a new podcast that I'm launching on the Spook Media Network on August 3rd, 2021. It's called Shame, and unsurprisingly, it's about that very thing. That negative self-eviscerating emotion that's used to control us, crush us, and keep us locked in misery. I've been obsessed with shame all my life. And so I'm on a quest to understand what it is about, this wretched emotion that hangs around my head, my heart, and my soul, and tethers me from joy. I'll be speaking to psychologists, historians, and people who feel shame or who have been shamed. So, I think him outlining that, the mission of the podcast series, I think that's amazing. Particularly in the episode I'm going to discuss. If you have been a longtime member in the Maura Murray community, you already know there's been no shortage of shame. Be it the family, friends of the family, ex-boyfriends, advocates, law enforcement, etc. It's an unfortunate buffet of shame. The title of Shame's third episode really stands out. It grabs at you. It hits you before hearing anyone's voice. The title of the podcast is Maura Isn't Here to Defend Herself from Shame. That's my job. A conversation with Julie Murray. James McMahon, he talks to Maura's older sister Julie about her fight to protect the dignity of a woman who has no ability to do so herself. It's an emotional and insightful thing, and it asks big questions about the purpose of this true crime genre and what happens to the people who are left behind. McMahon doesn't get into the case itself because it's been covered endlessly elsewhere. Instead, he takes a unique and desperately needed approach. He gets into the impact of how it has affected the Murray family, and in particular Julie. It's raw, emotional, and heart-wrenching. I've taken a lot from that interview, but one is standing up for those who are unable to stand up for themselves. I also resonate with Julie's take on the current true crime genre craze. If you haven't heard this interview, I am begging you to do so. As a matter of fact, if you haven't, stop listening to this right now and go do so. I will provide a link below, and what I have to say after this, anyways, isn't near as important as that interview. So, if you can, and if you haven't heard, do so now. But if you have listened to it, let's move on. The word troll. What does that word mean to you? Do you think of a fantasy character from Dungeons and Dragons? World of Warcraft or Lord of the Rings? Do you think of that creepy horror movie from 1986? Do you think of that popular fad of dolls in the 90s with the array of vibrant colored hair? Maybe you think of the recent popular DreamWorks animated movies for kids. Or maybe this is what you think of when you think of the word troll. In the opening of Wikipedia's definition, it's an internet slang. A troll is a person who posts inflammatory, insincere, digressive, extraneous, or off-topic messages in an online community. Mostly on social media like Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Maybe a news group, forum, chat room, or blog, with the intent of provoking readers into displaying emotional responses or manipulating others' perception. This is typically for the troll's amusement or to achieve a specific result, such as disrupting a rival's online activities or manipulating a political process. Even so, internet trolling can also be defined as purposefully causing confusion or harm to other users online for no reason at all. Both the noun and the verb forms of troll are associated with internet discourse. Media attention in recent years has equated trolling with online harassment. The Courier Mail and The Today Show have used troll to mean a person who defaces internet tribute sites with the aim of causing grief to families. In addition, depictions of trolling have been included in popular fictional works such as HBO's television program The Newsroom, in which a main character encounters harassing persons online and tries to infiltrate their circles by posting negative sexual comments. I bring this up because we have a particular troll in this community, one who has been around for an awful long time. At MauraMurrayMissing.org, this was briefly touched on. In the July 8th blog entry, it states, "We are aware of the trolling surrounding Maura's case. We believe it is the work of a sadistic coward who has been trolling the case for a very long time. His behavior calls into question the sourcing behind much of the information reported as fact in Maura's case. We are actively working with the authorities to put an end to this cruelty." Hopefully that happens sooner than later. I think it will. Also, when I say troll, I do so not to confuse forms of other troll activity. When I say troll in this particular circumstance, it's quite possible we are dealing with a few, but I think there's a primary one here. Think of the biblical term legion, many possessing one body. So the troll is the body, but few may be controlling that body. The body that has been harassing this community since nearly the beginning. Does that make sense? I hope so. I think this troll was behind the coordinates emailed to James Renner telling him to stop looking for Maura. I think this is the same troll who emailed Tim and Lance regarding their location and sending a Lincoln Penny picture. I believe this was around the time that they were going to go up to that mountain based on those coordinates. I think it's the same troll who emailed Eric Collins, aka Armchair Detective, pretending to be multiple people, threatening not only him, his ex-wife, and his child, but also the St. John Police Department, Maggie Freeling, and Jeff Streslin. I think it's the same troll who has emailed Aaron Larkin and Jenny from the Down and Away podcast. I think it's the same troll who relentlessly attempts to hack into social media accounts. I think he or they tried countless times with them and even locked them out for a while. And this quite possibly happened to John Smith, aka Truth Seeker. I even think this is the same troll who was hacked into personal computers, one being Aaron's, but I cannot comment on anyone else at this time. There are other things this troll has done, but I am not at liberty to say at this time, if ever at all. It's important to protect people's privacy, but it's important to state that many others have been affected. Apparently, even myself now. I won't go into all of it, but the last few weeks I've received hundreds of emails regarding Twitter verification codes going from midnight to around 7 a.m. I even received some text notifications from my cell phone about the same time of that that time frame. I also received hundreds of emails from the troll with a series of numbers in front of an email at burnafterreadingmm.com. The subject titles would vary between "you have your podcast, it's good," and "loved your podcast." Keep in mind, after Burn After Reading, I'm not technically a podcast. At least I don't think I am. I'm a YouTube content creator, I suppose is the most correct term, but maybe I'm just nitpicking. None of the emails have anything inside. It's blank. But this person or these people want my attention. It's his way of putting me on notice. Or they're putting me on notice. Could be to annoy me, or to intimidate me, or scare me, or maybe a combination of all of the above. After doing this for over a month, there seems to be a confusion as to what I am doing and why I'm doing this. Some have misinterpreted my videos as a way to end the toxicity in this Maura Murray case. Yeah, I wish I had that power. If I had that capability, believe me, I would. I don't have that ability, though. Sure, I can make a plea, but seriously, who's going to listen to little old me? My goal was to point out the bad behavior, make people aware of it, because unfortunately it can no longer be ignored or go unanswered. Now, I hope as I continue to do this, I can explore outside the box. There's only so many times you can point out the same thing, but for right now it has to be done. Eventually, I think it would be good to share more positive stories of others who have come together because of this sad and painful tragedy. I want to empathize that this is a tragedy, and it can't be ignored. However, in spite of it, Maura has left a legacy. I hope in her honor that gets shared more. Not shame, not humiliation, but honor. Allow me to share this quote by a poet named John Mark Green. The world may bring you darkness, but we are all bearers of light. We'll join our flames together and shine in the blackest night. Now, reading that, I couldn't help but think about the literal and figurative reasons why we light a candle every year on the anniversary of her disappearance. Honor. We come together out of this unfortunate situation because of honor. Anyone can honor her. It doesn't matter who you are. All you have to do is just show empathy and respect, because it's not about Maura being a perfect person at the age of 21. I mean, who was? And if so, good for you. But seriously, I wasn't. I know a lot of others who weren't. We're young, and we do things that we look back on 20, 30 years and we go, that was something. But it's about caring about a person who has vanished and who is loved and is missed very dearly by her loved ones. I know I'm not alone. I'm not the first and not the last, but in the end, it's honor over shame. And this is why we fight. Until next time.